Imagine standing in a moonlit field, 12th century England, the air thick with mist and dread. Your boots sink into the mud, each step squelching like a warning. You're here for the mandrake, that cursed root said to scream when torn from the earth. A sound so piercing it could stop your heart. Medieval peasants swore it, and you're not keen to test the theory. The plan's grim but simple. Tie a rope to your dog, let it pull the root, and pray you're far enough when the shriek comes. The dog whines, sensing something you don't, its eyes glinting in the dark. You knot the rope, hands trembling, and whisper a half-forgotten prayer. This is no fairy tale. This is survival, chasing a plant that might cure your fever or kill you trying. The mandrake's legend is no joke in these times. Herbals from the likes of Hildegard of Bingen call it a miracle for pain, but the cost is steep. They say it grows under gallows, fed by the dead's last drops. Charming, right? It screams not just noise, it's a banshee wail, a death knell. You glance at the rope, taut now as the dog digs, claws ripping at the soil. Every rustle in the bushes feels like the reaper's cloak brushing past. The village apothecary promised this root could dull your wife's childbirth pains, but he didn't mention the part where you might not make it home. Medieval life's a gamble, and you're betting your dog's life on a plant. The air grows colder, the mist thicker. You hear it, a low hum, like the earth itself is muttering. The dog yelps, and your pulse spikes. Is it the wind, or the mandrake waking? You back away, rope slack in your hand, heart hammering like a blacksmith's forge. The dog tugs harder, and the ground cracks open, a jagged wound in the dirt. No scream yet, but the silence is worse, heavy with dread. You think of the tales, harvesters found dead, faces frozen in horror, clutching roots that look like twisted babies. This is the Middle Ages, where medicine and magic blur, and you're stuck in the middle chasing a cure that's half demon, half drug. Tell us your creepiest medieval fact. Would you dare pull that root? Step into a dim apothecary's shop, 13th century France, where the air reeks of herbs and something sour like rot just out of reach. Shelves grown with jars of dried leaves, bones, and worse. But the real prize is the mandrake root, gnarled and disturbingly human, dangling from a beam like a hanged man. Its shape is why you're here, half convinced it's got a soul. The root's twisted limbs, knotted like a tiny corpse, make your skin crawl. Medieval folk swore these things were alive, born from the earth's dark whims. You're not sure if you're buying medicine or a curse, but the apothecary's grin says he's sold both. They called mandrakes homunculi, little men, and the name fits. Some roots look like they're screaming, others like they're praying, carved by nature into grotesque parodies of you. In the 1100s, monks wrote of roots with faces, warning they housed spirits, maybe devils. You watch the apothecary cradle one, whispering to it like an old friend, his fingers brushing its dirt-caked head. It's not just a plant, it's a relic of a world where every shadow hides a hex. The root's supposed to cure your cough, but the way it stares, yes, stares, makes you wonder if it's plotting instead. The shop's candle flickers, casting the mandrake's shadow, long and warped, across the wall. You hear a faint hum, or maybe it's your nerves, but the tales flood back. Mandrakes fed with milk kept in boxes, treated like pets with grudges. The apothecary chuckles, saying it'll heal you if you respect it, disrespect it, and, well, good luck. You're caught in medieval madness, where a root's more than a root. It's a gamble with the uncanny. Modern science would laugh, but here in this smoky shop you're not so sure. It's like buying a haunted doll off eBay, only this doll might scream. Share your thoughts. What's the weirdest cure you've heard of? Picture yourself in a 12th century English field, the moon a sickly sliver overhead, casting shadows that twist like spectres. The air's damp, heavy with the stench of wet earth, and something fouler, like death's own breath. You're here for a mandrake, that cursed root they say screams when ripped from the soil, a sound that could kill you dead. But you're not pulling it yourself. Your dog is. The poor beast, loyal and clueless, pants as you tie a rope around its neck, the other end knotted to a gnarled root barely poking from the dirt. Its whimpers cut through the silence, and your gut churns. This is medieval survival. Sacrifice your dog to snag a plant that might save your kid's fever. No pressure, right? The ritual's as old as the hills, whispered in villages from France to Germany. Mandrakes, prized for pain relief or witchy curses, Grow under gallows, they say, fed by hanged men's blood. Problem is, uprooting one's a death sentence unless you're clever or heartless. You tighten the rope, hands slick with sweat, and urge the dog to pull. It digs, claws tearing at the earth, each scrape louder than your pounding heart. The village crones swore the screams real. You've seen men pale recounting it, their eyes haunted. Your dog yanks, and the ground shifts. A low groan, not quite a scream, but enough to make you stumble back. Is it the root or your mind playing tricks? The rope snaps taut and the dog yelps, a sharp, panicked sound that claws at your conscience. You're halfway to bolting, but the apothecary's promise, cure your kid, charm your luck, keeps you rooted. The earth cracks wider, and you swear the root twitches, its humanoid shape half visible, like a buried demon stirring. Medieval logic's brutal, one life for another, your dog for a root that's half medicine, half nightmare. You shout for the dog to pull harder, voice cracking as the wind carries a faint, eerie hum. If this works, you're a hero. If it screams, you're done. Like Cher, tell us, will you trade a pet for a cure this creepy? You're in a 13th century apothecary's den somewhere in medieval France, where the air's thick with a bitter herbal reek that stings your nose like a wasp. Shelves sag with jars of roots and powders, but the mandrake's the star, a gnarled, human-shaped lump ground into a paste that looks like mud and smells like a crypt. They say it dulls pain from childbirth to toothaches, but swallowing it feels like a pact with something unholy. The apothecary, eyes glinting like he knows too much, scoops the gritty sludge onto a spoon, promising it'll fix your aching leg. You gag just looking at it, wondering if the cure's worse than the curse. Mandrakes were medieval medicine's rock stars peddled across Europe, for everything from fevers to infertility. Herbals like those from 12th century monks swore by its powers, but the catch was the prep. Roots mashed with wine or honey, sometimes mixed with weirder stuff like bat blood. You choke down the paste, its taste like dirt and despair, while the apothecary mutters about its sacred roots, grown under gallows no less. Patients before you screamed through doses, some swearing they heard whispers in their heads afterward. The shop's dim, candles spitting shadows that make the mandrake jar look alive, its contents squirming. Your leg's still throbbing, but now your head's fuzzy like the roots laughing at you. The apothecary shrugs. Cures take time, or maybe you didn't pray hard enough. Medieval medicine's a dice roll. One dose might heal, another might send you to the grave raving. This paste, they claim, saved noble women in labour, but you've heard of others who spat it out, claiming it burned like sin. It's like chugging a haunted energy drink, hoping it works. The mandrake's power feels real, but so does the dread pooling in your gut. Share your wildest remedy story. What's the strangest thing you've swallowed for a cure? You're crouched in a 14th century English hovel, the night so dark it feels like the world's holding its breath. A circle of candles sputters, their flames dancing like nervous spirits, casting shadows on a mandrake root that lies at the centre, its gnarled, human-like form glowing faintly in the flickering light. The village wise woman, eyes wild with secrets, chants in a tongue you barely grasp, her voice low and guttural like she's calling something from beyond. This mandrake, torn from the earth at a grim cost, isn't just a plant. It's a key to curses, charms, or maybe the dead themselves. You're here because your rival's been too lucky, and this root, they say, can tilt fate's scales, if you're brave enough to face its power. In medieval Europe, mandrakes were witches' gold, prized for rituals that blurred medicine and magic. From France to Germany, they were crushed into potions to hex enemies or summon spirits, their humanoid shape hinting at a soul trapped within. The wise woman sprinkles the root with wine, muttering of gallows where it grew, fed by the damned. You smell the sharp tang of herbs and something darker, like decay's faint echo. She carves a symbol into the root, and you swear it twitches, a grotesque mimicry of life. Tales whisper of mandrakes shrieking during these rites, their screams cursing the careless. Your heart's pounding, part fear, part thrill, as the chant grows louder, the air thick with an unnatural hum. The candles flare and the root seems to pulse, its knotted limbs like a tiny corpse stirring. The wise woman warns you to stay silent. One wrong word, and the spell could turn on you. Medieval witchcraft was no game. Mandrakes starred in trials where women burned for less. You're gambling with forces you don't understand, all for a curse that might backfire. The room feels smaller, the shadows sharper, like the roots watching you. It's like dabbling in a haunted app, but this is 1340, and the stakes are your soul. Like Cher, tell us, what's the creepiest ritual you've ever heard of? You're in a 13th century German cottage, the air heavy with dust and the faint scent of mildew. On a rickety table sits a small wooden box, its lid carved with runes that seem to squirm in the candlelight. Inside lies a mandrake root, its twisted, human-like form nestled in cloth like a sleeping child. They say it's alive, this thing, and you're half convinced as you whisper to it, asking for luck or maybe just answers. Medieval folk treated these roots like talismans, feeding them milk or wine, talking to them like old friends or prisoners. Your voice trembles, and the silence that follows feels too heavy, like the roots listening. Across Europe, from England's villages to Italy's towns, mandrakes were kept as sacred pets, their eerie shapes fueling tales of trapped spirits. Some swore they grew stronger with offerings, others that they whispered back in dreams. You drizzle a drop of wine into the box, as the local healer taught, and the root's surface seems to shimmer, its gnarled face almost smirking. The practice was half devotion, half dread. Lose the root's favour, and your crops might fail or worse. You hear a faint hum, or maybe it's the wind, but it sends a chill down your spine. The box feels alive, its wood warm, as if the mandrake's plotting something you'll never understand. You close the lid, heart racing, wondering if you're its keeper or its captive. The healer said to name it, to bond with it, but every word you speak feels like tempting a curse. In the 1200s, such roots were hidden from priests, who called them devil's work, yet even nobles kept them in secret. It's like owning a cursed collectible, only this one might ruin you. The room's too quiet now, the mandrake's presence lingering like a bad dream. Share your thoughts. What's the weirdest thing you've ever kept as a lucky charm? You're in a 14th century London apothecary's shop, the air thick with the tang of dried herbs and something sharper, like decay's distant cousin. Shelves sag under jars of roots, bones and murky liquids, but the mandrake steals the show, gnarled, human-shaped roots dangling from the ceiling like grim chandeliers. The apothecary, a wiry man with ink-stained fingers, hawks them as cure-alls, his voice slick as the coins clinking in his pouch. One root, he swears, can fix your gout, your love life, maybe even your soul if you can stomach the price and the dread. You eye the roots, their twisted limbs seeming to watch you back and wonder if you're buying medicine or madness. In medieval Europe, apothecaries were part doctor, part hustler, peddling mandrakes across England and France for everything from fevers to curses. These roots, often carved to look even more human, fetched prices that could bankrupt a peasant. You hear the clatter of coins as a desperate mother buys a sliver for her sick child, the apothecary's grin widening. He spins tales of mandrakes grown under gallows, their screams hushed by brave dogs, stories that make your skin crawl but keep the crowd hooked. The shop's dim, candles spitting shadows that make the roots seem to sway, like they're alive and scheming. You're tempted to buy, but the stench of the last customer's cure lingers, sour and gritty, like a grave's leftovers. The apothecary leans in, offering a mandrake wrapped in cloth, its face eerily detailed like it's judging you. He says it's fresh, but the dirt on it smells ancient, and you swear you hear a faint hum when you touch it. This is the Middle Ages, where hope and horror mix in every dose. And apothecaries bank on both. It's like shopping for a miracle on a haunted Etsy. Only the stakes are your health or your life. You hand over your coins, heart pounding, knowing you're gambling on a route that's half legend, half poison. Like Cher, tell us, what's the shadiest cure you've ever been sold? You're hunched over a creaking table in a 12th century monastery, the air heavy with the musty scent of old parchment and wax. A monk's quill scratches, copying a herbal that's more spellbook than science, its pages filled with tales of the mandrake, the root that screams and maybe thinks. The woodcut illustrations are grotesque, twisted roots with human faces, their mouths open in silent shrieks, inked by hands that believed every word. In medieval Europe, these texts, penned by scholars like Hildegard of Bingen, wove mandrakes into a tapestry of fear and fascination, claiming they grew under gallows, fed by the dead. You trace a line with your finger, ink smudging, and feel the weight of a world where plants were half-demon. These herbals weren't just books, they were Bibles of the bizarre, passed from monasteries to village healers. They warned of Mandrake's scream, its soul, its power to heal or hex. You turn a page, and the candle flickers, casting the woodcut's eyes in a glow that feels too alive. Monks and scholars wrote of roots that demanded respect, fed to with offerings, or they'd curse you, folklore so vivid it shaped lives. The parchment's brittle, but the fear's fresh. A healer caught with a mandrake could face a priest's wrath or a pyre. You imagine the monk who drew this, his hands trembling, half expecting the root to whisper back. The room's quiet save for the rustle of pages and your own uneven breath. These texts fueled centuries of mandrake mania, turning a plant into a legend that gripped kings and peasants alike. It's like scrolling through a medieval creepypasta, each line dripping with dread and wonder. You close the book, but the image of that root, its face too subhuman, lingers like it's etched in your mind. Share your thoughts. What's the eeriest story you've read that felt too real? You're alone in a 13th century English field. The night so still it feels like the stars are holding their breath. The ground's damp, your boots sinking into mud that smells of rot and secrets. You're here for a mandrake, that wretched root said to scream when yanked from the earth, a sound that could drop you dead. Your hands shake as you clutch a rope, one end tied to a gnarled stump of a root, the other ready for your dog who's whining in the shadows. The village healer swore this plant could save your son's fever, but the tales of men found lifeless, faces twisted in terror, make your sweat run cold. Cold! You mutter a prayer half to God, half to whatever's listening in the dirt. This is medieval life. One wrong move and you're a ghost story. Mandrake hunts were a grim necessity across Europe, from France's muddy valleys to Germany's dark forests. The root's promise, cures for pain, charms for luck, came with a price no sane person would pay lightly. You kneel, fingers fumbling with the rope, each knot feeling like a noose. The air's heavy, laced with a faint hum, like the earth's warning you to run. You think of the stories, roots born under gallows, fed by the damned. Their screams a curse for the greedy. Your breath catches as you tie the rope to your dog, its eyes pleading. One tug, and it's done. Or you are. It's like signing up for a cursed lottery, hoping the prize isn't death. The wind picks up, rustling the grass like whispered threats. You step back, heart hammering as the dog starts to pull, its claws ripping at the soil. The ground shifts, a low groan rising, and you freeze. Scream or no scream, the dread's real. Medieval farmers like you weren't heroes. You were desperate, gambling lives for a root that might be poison or salvation. Your hands clench, nails biting into palms as the rope goes taut. If this works, you're a saviour. If it fails, you're a fool. Share, tell us. What's the riskiest thing you've done for someone you love? You're in a 14th century French castle, the air heavy with incense and ambition, velvet robes brushing stone floors as nobles whisper in shadowed corners. Hidden in a lord's chamber, wrapped in silk, lies a mandrake root, its twisted, human-like form a secret weapon for power or ruin. They say it can curse a rival or charm a king, and the nobleman clutching it believes every word, his eyes glinting with greed. You're just a servant, tasked with guarding this creepy relic, but its presence makes your skin prickle, like it's watching you. In medieval courts, mandrakes weren't just plants, they were tools of intrigue, as dangerous as a dagger in the dark. From England to Italy, nobles hoarded mandrakes, believing their gnarled shapes held magic to sway fates. A lady might slip mandrake powder into a rival's wine, whispering of love or death. A lord might bury one under an enemy's doorstep, cursing their line. You watch the noble pace, his velvet cloak swishing as he mutters plans to use the root against a rival duke. The room's dim, torchlight casting the mandrake's shadow, too human, too alive, across the wall. Tales warn of roots that scream when misused, their curses rebounding on the careless. You hear a faint hum, or maybe it's your nerves, but the air feels thick with plots and dread. The noble tucks the mandrake away, his whispers sharp with paranoia. In the 1300s, such roots were smuggled between courts, traded for gold or favours, despite the church's cries of heresy. You're caught in their game, a pawn holding a relic that could spark a feud or end one. It's like carrying a loaded gun in a soap opera, only this gun might scream. Your hands itch to drop it, but disobedience means the stocks, or worse. Share your thoughts. What's the shadiest deal you've ever witnessed? You stand in a 14th century English village square, the air thick with smoke and the bitter tang of burning herbs. A priest's voice thunders from a wooden pulpit, his words sharp as a blade, condemning the mandrake root as the devil's own handiwork. The crowd murmurs, eyes darting to a pyre where gnarled, human-shaped roots crackle in the flames, their twisted forms writhing like damned souls. You clutch your cloak, heart pounding, knowing the mandrake hidden in your hut could land you here, branded a heretic. In medieval Europe, the church saw these roots, prized for healing and magic, as satanic traps, and you're caught in the crossfire of faith and fear. Across England and France, priests railed against mandrakes, claiming their screams and humanoid shapes were proof of demonic origins. Sermons echoed with tales of roots grown under gallows, fed by sin, luring good Christians to witchcraft. You watch the pyres glow, the crowd's faces a mix of dread and zeal, as the priest brandishes a charred mandrake, its face half melted like a warning from hell. The stench of burning roots chokes you, mingling with the crowd's sweat and muttered prayers. Some say the church burned more than plants. Healers and wise women went up in flames for keeping mandrakes. You feel the weight of your secret, the root you hid for your wife's pain, now a ticket to the stake. The flames roar higher and a faint hum seems to rise from the pyre, or is it your imagination spiked by panic? The priest's eyes sweep the crowd and you swear they linger on you as if he smells your guilt. In the 1300s, mandrakes were outlawed in church decrees, yet peasants and nobles alike clung to them in secret. It's like hiding a cursed artifact in a world obsessed with salvation. You slip away, pulse racing, praying the smoke doesn't follow you home. Like, share, tell us. What's the riskiest thing you've kept hidden from prying eyes? You're in a 13th century French hovel, the air sour with sickness and the reek of a mandrake paste gone bad. A sick man groans on a straw bed, his face slick with sweat, as the healer spoons a gritty, foul-smelling sludge into his mouth, swearing it's the miracle root that'll pull him from death's grip. The mandrake, ground from a human-shaped root, was sold as a cure for everything, fevers, wounds, even bad luck, but the man's gasps say otherwise. You wince, smelling the rot in the mixture, like a grave stirred up, and wonder if this cure is just poison in disguise. In medieval Europe, mandrakes were medicine's desperate gamble, and you're watching it fail. From Germany to Italy, apothecaries peddled mandrake for pain and plague, but the results were a coin toss. Some woke healed, others raved or died, their bodies rejecting the bitter brew. You hear the healer's excuses, wrong dose, weak faith, as the man chokes, his eyes wild with something worse than pain, like he's hearing the root's fabled scream inside his skull. The room's dim, shadows crawling over jars of rotting roots, their humanoid shapes like tiny corpses mocking your hope. Medieval medicine was half prayer, half madness, and mandrakes were its poster child, promising salvation while delivering delirium. You step back, the stench clinging to you as the healer mutters about trying again. Optimism or insanity, you can't tell. The man's groans fade to silence, and the healer shrugs, blaming the stars or Satan. You think of the coin you paid for this cure, now as useless as the root crumbling in the sea. It's like betting your life on a sketchy herbal tea from a dark web market. Only here, the stakes are your soul. The mandrake's legend lingers, but so does the dread of its failures, a reminder that medieval cures could kill as often as they saved. Share your story. What's the worst miracle cure you've ever tried? You're in a 15th century English village, standing in a dusty attic where the air smells of old wood and forgotten secrets. On a shelf, tucked between crumbling herbals, lies a mandrake root, its gnarled, human-like form faded but still eerie, like a relic from a nightmare that won't die. The stories of its screams and magical powers, once whispered in every tavern, are fading now, replaced by new fears and fads. Yet as you brush dust from its twisted limbs, you feel a chill, as if the root still holds some ancient grudge. In late medieval Europe, mandrake folklore clung on, its legend woven into the margins of a world moving towards science, but never quite letting go of the uncanny. By the 1400s, mandrakes were less common in apothecaries, their use waning as physicians like Paracelsus pushed for new remedies. Still, old herbals, inked by monks in France and Germany, kept the myths alive, their pages yellowed but potent, warning of roots that screamed under gallows shadows. You flip through one, its woodcuts showing mandrakes with twisted faces, and your fingers pause, half expecting a hum from the page. Villagers still hid these roots, fearing priests but trusting their power to ward off bad luck or curse a foe. The attic's shadows seem to shift, and you swear the root's eyes glint, like it's mocking your doubt. This is the Middle Ages twilight. where superstition lingers like a stubborn ghost. You close the herbal, but the mandrake's presence lingers, a reminder of a time when plants were feared as much as demons. His legacy isn't just in cures or curses, it's in humanity's hunger for the strange, chasing magic in a world of mud and plague. It's like clinging to a cursed heirloom, too creepy to keep, too powerful to toss. The root's myth fades, but its shadow doesn't, whispering of a past that believed in screams from the earth. Like, share, tell us, what old superstition still gives you the creeps? You're in a 12th century German forest, the night air cold and sharp, carrying the faint howl of wind, or something worse. Your hands slick with sweat, grip a blood-soaked rope tied to your dog, its fur matted as it digs at a mandrake root half buried in the dirt. The root's fabled scream could kill you, they say, so you've doomed your loyal hound to pull it free, a grim sacrifice for a plant that might cure your daughter's cough. The earth smells of decay, and your guilt weighs heavier than the rope, each tug from the dog twisting your gut. In medieval Europe, this was the price of mandrakes. Dog for root, life for life, a deal struck in desperation. From England's fields to France's villages, mandrake hunters used dogs to avoid the root's deadly cry, a ritual born of fear and folklore. You hear the dog's claws scrape, its whimpers rising to panicked yelps as the ground cracks open, revealing the root's twisted human-like form. The tales are vivid, dogs collapsing dead, their masters fleeing as the mandrake's scream echoed. You step back, rope burning your palms, as the dog pulls harder, its eyes wild with fear you mirror. A distant howl cuts through the night. Another dog, another fool like you, chasing a cure under a gallows curse. Your breath catches, the air humming with something unnatural, like the roots warning you to run. The rope snaps taut and the dog stumbles, a low groan rising from the earth. You freeze, guilt clawing at you as the root emerges, its face glaring in the moonlight. Medieval desperation made monsters of men, sacrificing pets for a chance at salvation. It's like trading your best friend for a sketchy pill from a back-alley dealer. Only this dealer's the devil himself. You untie the rope, hand shaking, praying the dog survives, and you do too. Like, share. Tell us, what's the heaviest price you've paid for a desperate hope? You're in a 14th century German courtroom, the air thick with the stench of fear and burning tallow. The wooden benches creak under a restless crowd, their whispers sharp as the judge's gavel, as a woman stands accused of witchcraft, her face pale and defiant. On the table before her lies the damning evidence, a mandrake root, its gnarled, human-like form twisted like a tiny demon, unearthed from her garden. They say it screamed when pulled, proof she's in league with the devil, and now the crowd's eyes bore into her, hungry for her guilt. You're just a bystander, but your heart races. Knowing a single root could turn this mob against you too. In medieval Europe, mandrakes were a witch hunter's jackpot, their eerie shape and fabled scream weaponized in trials across England and Germany. Prosecutors waved roots like this one, claiming they were grown under gallows or conjured by dark rites, as women, often healers, faced the pyre. The accused woman's voice cracks, denying she ever touched the thing, but the judge points to its face, accusing it of whispering satanic secrets. You smell the crowd's sweat, feel the courtroom's heat, as the mandrake sits there, silent but deadly, its knotted limbs seeming to mock her pleas. The tension's suffocating, like a noose tightening, and you wonder if truth matters when fear rules the day. A priest mutters prayers, his words drowned by the crowd's jeers, and you swear the root hums faintly, or maybe it's the blood pounding in your ears. Witch trials were medieval reality TV, with mandrakes as star props, condemning the innocent to flames. You clutch your cloak, thinking of the root you once saw in a healer's hut. Could it land you here? It's like being framed by a cursed keepsake in a kangaroo court. The woman's dragged away, and the mandrake's shadow lingers, a grim reminder of a world where plants could kill reputations. Like, share, tell us, what's the worst time you've been judged for something you didn't do? You're in a 15th century Italian alchemist's lab, the air choked with sulphurous fumes that sting your eyes like 1,000 needles. A cauldron bubbles over a fire, spitting sparks, as the alchemist, his beard singed and eyes wild, sprinkles mandrake dust into the brew, muttering of elixirs to rival the philosopher's stone. The root, ground from a human-shaped lump, swirls in the pot, its gritty texture like powdered bones. They say mandrakes hold secrets of life and death, and this alchemist believes it, his hands trembling as he stirs, half praying, half cursing the devil he fears he'll summon. You're here to fetch his latest miracle, but the lab's chaos, shattered vials, acrid smoke, makes you doubt you'll leave alive. In medieval Europe, alchemists from Germany to Spain borrowed mandrakes from apothecaries, blending them into potions for immortality or gold. The roots, tied to gallows and screams, added a mystic edge to their mad science, promising power but risking ruin. You watch the alchemist toss in more dust, the cauldron hissing like a serpent, its glow casting shadows of the root's twisted form on the wall. He whispers of spirits trapped in the mandrake, his voice cracking as the fumes thicken, smelling of rot and ambition. Failure could mean an explosion, or worse, a demon's knock, if the old tales hold true. The lab feels alive, pulsing with danger, as if the mandrake's fighting back. You step back, coughing, as the alchemist laughs. A manic edge to it, convinced this brew will change the world. It's like watching a mad scientist on a bad TikTok, only this one's betting his soul on a plant. The mandrake's dust swirls, and you swear you hear a hum, low and eerie, like the root's warning of its own power. Medieval alchemy was a gamble, and mandrakes were its wild card, promising miracles but delivering chaos. Like, share. Tell us, what's the craziest experiment you've ever seen go wrong? You're in a 13th century English village, huddled by a fire in a cramped hut where the air smells of straw and fear. Whispers ripple through the room, tales of mandrake roots buried under doorsteps to ward off evil or curse a neighbour's crops. The villagers, faces weathered by plague and hunger, clutch charms, bits of cloth, bones, and sometimes a mandrake sliver, its human-like shape hidden in their palms like a secret sin. They say these roots, torn from gallows earth, can protect your home or ruin your enemy, but only if you whisper the right words. You feel the weight of their stares, each one wondering if you've got a root stashed away, ready to tip fate's scales. In medieval Europe, from France's hamlets to Germany's fields, peasants wove mandrakes into a web of superstition, believing their eerie forms held power over life and death. A root under your bed might keep spirits at bay. A misspoken charm could invite them in. You hear the crackle of the fire, the soft clink of a villager's charm against a cup, as they murmur of mandrakes screaming when unearthed, their cries a warning of divine wrath. Some bury roots at crossroads, others sew them into cloaks, each act a desperate bid against a world of demons and disease. The hut's shadows twist, and you swear you hear a faint hum, like the root in your pockets listening, judging. Your hand brushes the charm you made, a mandrake scrap wrapped in wool, and dread pulls in your gut. Priests called these roots heresy, but peasants clung to them, risking pyres for a sliver of hope. It's like carrying a haunted trinket from a shady pawn shop, only this one might save or doom you. The villagers' whispers grow quieter, but the fear lingers, as if the mandrake's watching from every corner. Like, share, tell us. What's the creepiest superstition you've ever followed? You're in a 14th century French alley, the night cloaked in fog, the air sharp with the stench of mud and secrets. A hooded figure beckons you closer, his hand slipping from his cloak to reveal a mandrake root, its gnarled, human-like form glinting in the moonlight like a stolen relic. Coins clink softly as you haggle, your voice low, knowing this black market trade could land you in chains, or worse, a pyre. These roots, prized for healing or hexing, are smuggled across Europe's towns from England to Italy, their screams and souls whispered about in every deal. You're buying a curse or a cure, but the root's eerie weight in your hand feels like both. Mandrakes were medieval contraband, their trade a dangerous dance between greed and fear. Apothecaries sold them openly, but the real market thrived in shadows, where roots fetched gold from desperate nobles and peasants alike. The trader's eyes dart, his breath sour as he boasts of a root pulled under a gallows, its face carved by the devil himself. You feel the crowd's pulse in the alley, hear the distant clatter of a guard's boots, and your heart races. Caught with this, you're a heretic. The root's knotted limbs seem to twitch, and a faint hum buzzes in your ears, or maybe it's the fog playing tricks. This is the Middle Ages, where a plant's worth more than your life. You slip the mandrake into your cloak, coins gone, nerves frayed, the trader vanishes, leaving only the echo of his laugh. like you know something you don't. It's like buying a cursed relic off the dark web. Only here, the stakes are your soul. The root's heavy, its presence lingering like a bad dream, whispering of the risks you've taken for a sliver of power. Like, share, tell us. What's the shadiest deal you've ever made? You're in a 13th century French monastery, the air heavy with the scent of ink and wax as candlelight flickers over a monk's desk. Before you lies a herbal, its parchment pages alive with grotesque woodcuts of mandrake roots, their human-like forms twisted into screams or prayers, each line etched with a mix of reverence and dread. The monk's quill trembles as he traces a root's face, its eyes too lifelike as if the plant could stare back. These images, found across medieval rural Europe from England to Italy, turn mandrakes into icons of fear and fascination, their gnarled limbs a warning of the line between medicine and damnation. You lean closer, the candle's glow making the woodcuts seem to shift, and your skin prickles with the weight of its silent gaze. In the Middle Ages, artists in monasteries and courts immortalized mandrakes in manuscripts, their illustrations blending science with superstition. Herbals like those of Hildegard of Bingen depicted roots growing under gallows, their humanoid shapes tied to tales of screams and trapped souls. You turn a page, the parchment rustling like a whisper, and find a mandrake clutching a dog in its arms, a grim nod to the sacrificial ritual. The flickering light casts shadows that dance across the grotesque forms, and you swear you hear a faint hum, like the root's myth breathing through the ink. These drawings weren't just art, they were warnings, fueling centuries of dread for a plant that blurred the divine and demonic. The monk mutters a prayer, his fingers stained with ink, as if the act of drawing could summon the root's curse. You feel the weight of the herbal, its pages heavy with a world that saw spirits in every shadow. It's like flipping through a medieval horror comic, each image more unsettling than the last. The mandrake's legacy lives in these lines, a testament to humanity's obsession with the eerie. Like Cher, tell us, what's the creepiest artwork you've ever seen? You stand in a 15th century English field, the air cool and silent, the once dreaded mandrake patches now overgrown with weeds. The moon hangs low, casting pale light on abandoned roots, their gnarled, human-like forms half buried, forgotten relics of a world that trembled at their screams. No one comes to harvest them anymore. The tales of deadly cries and gallows-born magic are fading, replaced by new cures and fears. You kneel, brushing dirt from a root's twisted face, its eyes seeming to stare through you, heavy with the weight of centuries of human desperation. This is the end of the mandrake's reign, a quiet grave for a myth that once gripped Europe's soul. By the late Middle Ages, mandrakes were losing their hold, their legends relegated to dusty herbals and old wives' tales across France and Germany. Science was creeping in, and apothecaries turned to less cursed remedies, leaving mandrakes to rot in silent fields. You trace the root's knots, feeling the echo of farmers who risked dogs, witches who burned, and alchemists who chased its power. The silence is heavy, broken only by the rustle of grass, as if the earth swallowed the screams for good. Yet the root's presence lingers, a reminder of a time when people saw spirits in plants and gambled lives for hope. It's like stumbling on a haunted relic in an abandoned lot, its story too wild to fully fade. You stand, the root in hand, its weight a final whisper of medieval madness. The field feels empty, but the mandrake's myth clings to you, a testament to humanity's hunger for the strange, chasing cures and curses through a world of mud and fear. It's like the last post of a viral legend, fading but never gone. The mandrake's scream is silent now, but its cost, dogs, lives, souls, echoes in the dirt, like Cher, tell us, what's a fading myth you wish you could have seen in its prime? You're in a 16th century English court, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and nervous sweat. The king sits rigid, his crown glinting in torchlight. As an astrologer unrolls a star chart, its parchment crinkling like a whispered secret. The room's tense, nobles frozen mid-breath, waiting for the verdict. The stars, they say, will decide if tomorrow's battle begins or stalls. The astrologer's telescope, crude and gleaming, points to a window where constellations flicker, each one a cosmic judge. You're just a scribe, but your quill trembles, knowing one wrong star could doom the kingdom, or the astrologer's neck. In Renaissance Europe, monarchs like Elizabeth I leaned on astrologers like John Dee, halting wars or weddings if the heavens weren't aligned. The chart symbols swim before you, a maze of celestial omens, as the astrologer mutters of Mars in retrograde, his voice low, urgent. The king's eyes narrow, his fingers drumming, while the room hums with dread like the stars themselves are watching. A wrong call could mean defeat or disgrace, and you feel the weight of a world ruled by distant lights. It's like a CEO pausing a merger because an app says, Mercury's off. Except here, it's life or death. Like, share. Tell us. What's the wildest reason you've delayed a big decision? You're in a 15th century French dungeon. The air damp and sour, shadows dancing on stone walls as a torch sputters. An astrologer, once revered, now kneels in chains, his robes soaked with sweat, the shadow of a noose swaying above. He misread the stars, predicted victory when defeat came swift, and now the king's wrath has him marked for death. His telescope, once a tool of prophecy, lies shattered in the corner, its lens glinting like a broken promise. You're just a guard, but your stomach twists, knowing the stars he trusted betrayed him. Or he betrayed them. Across Renaissance Europe, astrologers like those in Italy and England walked a razor's edge, their prediction holding the power to sway empires or end their lives. A wrong call, say, a comet misjudged, could mean exile or execution, as crowds turned from awe to anger. The astrologer mutters, his voice hoarse, claiming the stars whispered truth, but the king heard only failure. The dungeon's chill seeps into you, the air heavy with starlit dread, as if the heavens are mocking his fall. It's like betting your life on a horoscope app that crashes at the worst moment. Like, share. Tell us, what's the biggest mistake you've made trusting a sure thing? You're in a 15th century Italian village, standing in a moonlit field, the air cool and sharp with the scent of damp grass. A tattered star chart, its edges frayed from years of use, rustles in your hands as you squint at the heavens, searching for answers in the constellation's cold light. Peasants around you whisper prayers, their voices soft but urgent, believing the stars dictate when to plant crops, marry, or even bury the dead. The night hums with quiet hope, each twinkling point above a sign of fate's whims. You're just a farmer, but the chart's cryptic lines feel like a lifeline in a world where plague and hunger lurk. In Renaissance Europe, from England's hamlets to France's fields, commoners clung to astrology as fiercely as kings, using crude charts to navigate life's uncertainties. A star's position might bless a harvest or curse a journey, and you trace Orion's belt, wondering if it approves your daughter's betrothal. The chart's ink smudges under your calloused fingers, its symbols half understood but heavy with meaning. The village elder swears Venus in ascent means love, but Saturn's shadow could spell ruin. It's like checking a weather app that predicts your life, not just rain, and you're betting your crops on it. Like, share, tell us, what's the strangest guide you followed for a big choice? You're in a 16th century English attic, the air thick with the scent of wax and incense. As an astrologer hunches over a star chart, his eyes locked on a flickering candle's glow, he mutters, voice low and reverent, claiming the stars speak to him, their whispers guiding his predictions for the village below. The chart's lines twist like secrets, and you, a curious apprentice, feel a chill as he points to a constellation. Swearing it answered his call, the room hums with an eerie quiet, the candles flame dancing as if the heavens are listening. In Renaissance Europe, such tales made astrologers half prophet, half witch, their words as potent as spells. From France to Italy, people believed some astrologers could converse with the stars, their telescopes catching celestial murmurs that shaped fates. You watch him trace a star's path, his fingers trembling, as if the sky's reply could save or doom him. The air feels heavy, like the stars are pressing down, and you swear you hear a faint hum, or maybe it's just the wind. These myths fueled awe and fear, turning stargazers into mystics who could sway kings or burn for heresy. It's like following a psychic TikTok guru, but with stakes as high as a noose. Like, share, tell us, what's the wildest sign you've ever believed in? You're in a 16th century French royal court, the air heavy with the scent of wax and old parchment, as an astrologer unrolls a star chart across a polished oak table. The chart's ink lines twist like veins, mapping constellations that hold the kingdom's fate, while a crude telescope gleams in the torchlight, its lens catching a star's faint flicker. Nobles lean in, their silks rustling as the astrologer points to a smudged symbol declaring, "Saturn's alignment forbids the king's planned siege." You're a courtier, heart-pounding, knowing a single star could shift war or peace. In Renaissance Europe, these charts were sacred, their cryptic swirls guiding monarchs from England to Italy through life's chaos. The parchment crackles under the astrologer's fingers, each line a prophecy that could crown or kill. You smell the ink, sharp and fresh as he adjusts the telescope, his brass frame cold against the room's heat. The stars outside seem to pulse, as if answering his gaze, and the court holds its breath, waiting for celestial permission. These tools, charts, lenses, whispered omens, were the heartbeat of courts, turning distant lights into royal decrees. It's like trusting a glitchy algorithm to run your life, but with swords and thrones at stake. Like, share, tell us. What's the strangest tool you've relied on for a big call? You're in a 15th century Italian town square, the air thick with smoke and the shouts of an angry mob. A star chart burns in a makeshift pyre, its edges curling as flames devour the constellations that fail to predict a harvest's ruin. The astrologer, once a trusted seer, flees through the crowd, his robes torn, eyes wide with starlit dread as stones fly past. He swore Venus promised plenty, but famine came instead, and now the townsfolk want blood. You're just a bystander, but your pulse races, the mob's fury a reminder that the stars don't forgive mistakes. In Renaissance Europe, from France to Germany, astrologers paid dearly for wrong predictions, exile, imprisonment, or worse. You smell the charred parchment, hear the crackle of flames, as the mob's jeers drown out the astrologer's pleas. His telescope, now a broken relic, lies in the dirt, its lens reflecting a sky that betrayed him. The crowd surges, and you step back, feeling the heat of their rage, knowing one bad prophecy could turn reverence to wrath. It's like getting cancelled for a bad tweet, but with pitchforks and no appeal. Like, share, tell us. What's the worst fallout you've seen from a wrong prediction? You're in a 16th century German village, the night air thick with the sweet sting of incense smoke curling from a brazier. An astrologer, robed in star-stitched cloth, stands in a circle of candles, chanting omens in a voice that hums like the starry sky above. His star chart, spread on the ground, glows faintly in the moonlight, its lines tracing fates for the villagers huddled round, their breaths visible in the chill. They seek guidance for a child's birth, a harvest's hope, believing the stars' whispers shape their lives. You're just an onlooker, but the chant's rhythm and the sky's vastness pull you in, as if the constellations are speaking directly to you. In Renaissance Europe, from England's courts to Italy's hamlets, astrological rituals blended prayer and prophecy, tying human hopes to celestial patterns. The astrologer raises a staff, pointing to a twinkling star, his words promising fortune or warning of doom. You smell the incense, sharp and heady, as the candles flicker, casting shadows that dance like celestial spirits. These rituals, steeped in mysticism, made stars seem alive, guiding everything from sowing seeds to signing treaties. It's like performing a cosmic TikTok ritual, but with stakes that could save or ruin a village. Like, share, tell us. What's the wildest ritual you've ever joined for luck? You're in a 17th century English attic, the air dusty and still, where a forgotten telescope leans against a wall, its lens clouded like an eye gone blind. A pile of star charts, once sacred, lies crumpled in a corner, their constellations faded, no longer guiding kings or peasants. The stars still burn outside, but their grip on Europe's fate is slipping as science creeps in, dimming the astrologer's mystic glow. You pick up a chart, its parchment brittle, and feel a pang for a time when the heavens ruled every choice. This is the twilight of astrology's reign, a quiet end to a world that hung on starlight. By the late Renaissance, from France to Germany, astrology's influence waned, its rituals replaced by telescopes and reason. You trace a faded constellation, the ink barely legible, and imagine the astrologers who once chanted to these stars now silenced by progress. The attic's silence is heavy, broken only by the creak of floorboards, as if the stars themselves mourn their lost voice. It's like scrolling through an old app nobody uses anymore, its predictions quaint but powerless. The star's last word is a whisper, a reminder of humanity's dance with the cosmos, now fading into memory, like, share, tell us. What's a belief you've seen fade away in your lifetime? You're in a 16th century German alchemist's lair, the air thick with sulphur fumes that burn your throat like a dragon's breath. A crucible glows red hot, its molten contents bubbling as the alchemist, eyes wild with greed, stirs in a pinch of lead, chasing the mythical philosopher's stone that'll turn it to gold. His laughter, sharp and manic, echoes off stone walls cluttered with vials and cryptic scrolls. He believes this brew, born of endless nights and whispered secrets, will make him richer than kings, maybe immortal. You're just a helper, but the heat and his frenzy make you wonder if you're aiding genius or madness. In Renaissance Europe, alchemists like Paracelsus obsessed over the philosopher's stone, a fabled substance promising wealth and eternal life. You watch the crucible spit sparks, the glow-casting shadows that dance like demons on the walls. The alchemist mutters of ancient texts, his voice feverish as the fumes choke you, smelling of brimstone and broken dreams. This quest for gold was no mere science, it was a fever, driving men to risk everything for a myth. It's like chasing a crypto jackpot with a medieval Bunsen burner, only the stakes are your soul. Like, tell us, what's the wildest dream you've chased against all odds? You're in a 15th century Italian alchemist's lab. The air a haze of acrid smoke as a cauldron explodes, shattering vials that rain glass like brittle stars. The alchemist, his beard singed and eyes bloodshot, coughs through the chaos, cursing yet grinning as he scrambles to save his latest brew. The walls, blackened by past blasts, bear scars of his quest for the philosopher's stone, a dream that has left him half mad and his lab a wreck. You duck as another vial pops, the stench of sulphur and charred herbs choking you, and wonder how anyone survives this madness. Across Renaissance Europe, alchemical labs were tinderboxes, their experiments mixing lead, mercury, and hope, often ending in fire or ruin. You hear the crackle of flames, see the alchemist's hands shake as he tosses in a powder, praying it won't spark another blast. The air's thick, the floor littered with shattered glass that glints like broken promises. These labs weren't just workshops, they were battlegrounds where men fought nature itself, risking life for gold or eternity. It's like a DIY science stream gone wrong, but with explosions that could bury you. Like, tell us, what's the messiest experiment you've ever tried? You're in a 16th century English alchemist's den, the air thick with the stench of sulphur and dread, as a cauldron bubbles with a brew that could be gold or doom. The alchemist, his hands trembling, mutters prayers between stirs, his eyes darting to shadows that flicker like spectres in the candlelight. He fears a failed experiment might summon demons, a belief whispered across Europe's labs from Germany to Spain, where alchemy teetered between science and sin. You're just an apprentice, but the bubbling brew hisses like a serpent and every pop feels like a knock from hell itself. In Renaissance Europe, alchemists worked under a cloud of paranoia, convinced a wrong mix could open a portal to the demonic. You watch the alchemist sprinkle powder, his whispered Latin prayers clashing with the cauldron's groans, as if the brew's alive and angry. The shadows twist, seeming to claw at the walls, and you swear you hear a low hum, like a voice from the dark. Failure here isn't just a bad batch. It's a pact with forces that could claim your soul. It's like hacking a forbidden server, knowing one glitch might unleash chaos. Like, tell us, what's the scariest risk you've taken chasing a goal? You're in a 15th century French market, the air buzzing with jeers and the clatter of coins as a crowd mocks an alchemist peddling his latest elixir for eternal life. They call him Gold Mad, laughing at his singed cloak and tales of the philosopher's stone. Yet some slip him coins in secret, desperate for a sip of his promises. His stall, cluttered with vials that gleam like false hope, smells of burnt herbs and ambition. You're just a passerby, but your heart skips as a buyer whispers for a flask, eyes darting like he's buying sin itself. In Renaissance Europe, alchemists were both scorned and sought, their elixirs mocked in public but craved in private across Italy and England. You hear the crowd's taunts, sharp as knives, but see hands pass coins under cloaks for a chance at immortality. The alchemist's grin is strained, his vials glinting as he boasts of gold and youth, though the market's stench of fish and mud drowns his dreams. It's like pitching a miracle cure on a shady infomercial, knowing the audience wants to believe despite their sneers. Like his share, tell us, what's the most dubious miracle you've been tempted to buy? You're in a 16th century German alchemist's study, the air heavy with the musty scent of dusty tomes and flickering candle wax. The alchemist, his eyes sunken from sleepless nights, pores over a manuscript, its pages crammed with cryptic symbols, spirals, stars, and coded words that guard secrets of the philosopher's stone. Each line, inked in fading black, promises gold or eternal life, but only to those who can crack its riddles. You're just a scribe, but the candlelight casts shadows that twist like the symbols themselves, and you feel the weight of a knowledge that could spark riches or ruin. In Renaissance Europe, these texts were alchemists' holy grails. Hoarded from Italy to England, their mysteries as dangerous as the brews they inspired, the alchemist mutters, tracing a glyph that looks half angel, half demon, his voice low as if the book might overhear. You smell the old leather, hear the parchment's faint crackle, as he decodes a recipe that might turn lead to gold, or summon something worse. These texts, written by figures like Nicholas Flamel, were locked away, their ciphers shielding truths from priests and rivals alike. The room feels alive, the symbols seeming to pulse under the candle's glow, and you swear you hear a hum, like the book's whispering its own secrets. It's like hacking a forbidden file, knowing one wrong move could crash everything. Like Cher, tell us, what's the most mysterious puzzle you've ever tried to solve? You stand in a 17th century English alchemist's lab, now silent, the air thick with the ghosts of sulphur and shattered dreams. The cauldron sits cold, its last brew a failure, surrounded by broken vials and scorched scrolls that once promised gold and immortality. The alchemist, once feverish with hope, is gone, defeated by a quest for the philosopher's stone that left only ashes and debt. You trace a finger over a cracked crucible, its surface gritty with the residue of 1,000 futile mixes, and feel the weight of a world that chased the impossible. In Renaissance Europe's twilight, alchemy's fire dimmed, its labs abandoned as science overtook myth. From Germany to France, alchemists like Paracelsus had burned bright, their dreams of transforming lead or living forever, fueling centuries of chaos. You see the faint glow of a dying ember, hear the creak of the empty lair, as if it mourns the ambition that broke it. The shelves, once alive with bubbling elixirs, now hold only dust, a testament to humanity's hunger for what lies beyond reach. It's like chasing a viral startup that crashes, leaving nothing but hype and ruin. The alchemist's final brew was his last gamble, a reminder that even the wildest dreams can end in silence. Like Cher. Tell us, what's a dream you've chased that slipped away? Now let's shift gears to a modern legend, a story of grit and grace that starts in the heart of struggle. We're in Columbus, Ohio, 1997, where a girl named Simone Biles enters a world that's anything but easy. Her spark, though, is unstoppable, lighting a path from chaos to glory. As you settle in at 5:17 p.m, Sunday, June 27th, 2025, the fans hum a steady beat picture, a kid whose flips would one day flip the world. Loving this tale? Like, subscribe and comment where are you and what's the clock saying. Let's tumble into Simone's story. Imagine a small apartment, the air heavy with uncertainty, where Simone's born to a mom battling addiction. Life's rough foster care bounces her and her siblings through unfamiliar beds, their days a blur of change. You can see a tiny Simone, barely 3, her eyes bright, despite the weight clutching her sister's hand. But love steps in. Her grandparents Ron and Nellie Biles take her in, adopting her and her sister Adria in Houston, Texas. Picture their home, warm with the smell of Nellie's cooking, where Simone finds safety structure and a laugh that fills rooms. To her, Ron and Nellie aren't just guardians, they're mom and dad, her rock. Then one day a daycare trip changes everything. Picture a gym, the air sharp with chalk dust, where 6-year-old Simone watches gymnasts flip and soar. Her body can't stay still. She mimics them on the sidelines, her cartwheels wild but fierce. A coach spotting that raw fire hands her a note, get this kid in classes. From that moment, gymnastics isn't just play, it's purpose. You can see her small but mighty bounding onto mats, her grin brighter than the gym's lights. Her power's explosive, her balance uncanny, and her joy, it's pure rocket fuel. As you drift off, hold this Simone Biles, born into storm, found her spark in a gym, flipping pain into possibility. Sleep well, knowing this kid's just getting started, Let's stick with Simone Biles zooming into the early 2000s in Houston, Texas, where a kid's raw spark ignites into something fierce. The air's thick with gym chalk and the thump of mats, a world where sweat and dreams collide. Simone's not just flipping for fun anymore, she's carving apart